Just try and deal with a couple of the questions as they came up. To Wim de Camp, bilaterals will not be a fallback option. I don't believe that any individual European country will be allowed to negotiate a bilateral with the UK. The 27 will either stick together or the whole thing will fall apart. Will UK citizens need visas in a hard Brexit? Yes, they'll need visas, but I wouldn't worry about it because there won't be any flights, not just Ryanair. BA won't be flying between the UK and Europe in a hard Brexit outcome. And if Ms Foster doesn't begin to address the reality of this delusional attitude in London that it'll be all right on the night because a deal will get done. There isn't a mechanism for the UK to do a deal. There's nobody in the UK government that has a clue how to do a deal. They don't even know what the hell it is they want, other than they want to leave ECJ jurisdiction. There is no plan. It's your party, and I suggest you talk to them. The German lady, there will be no special treatment for aviation. I apologise most sincerely if you think I take Brexit lightly. I think Brexit is going to be one of the great economic suicide notes in history. I think it's a shambles. The UK will suffer hugely. Europe will suffer a couple of years of negative growth. It will be very bad for our industry. But yes, because we operate flexible assets, we can move aircraft out of the UK. I think there will be a disruption to flights from April 19 onwards. I don't think the disruption will last for very long. It will be a couple of months before the British people understand that they don't all want to go on holidays in Ireland or in Scotland. And I think the British government will be forced to come to its senses. Mr. Kramer, I love you dearly, but you're as delusional as usual, I'm afraid. Not alone do we fly to Denmark, we're the fastest growing airline in Denmark. We've gone from nowhere to the number 3 airline in Copenhagen in 18 months. We have also accounted for almost 100% of Copenhagen's growth in the last 2 years. The reason we don't base aircraft in Denmark is because there's some bizarre Danish model that allows SAS unions to blockade our aircraft and our passengers, despite the fact that our people and our passengers do not support the activities by Danish unions. But if secondary picketing is allowed in Denmark, and Europe does nothing about that kind of industrial terrorism, then shame on you. But don't worry, we're growing very rapidly in Denmark, and the Danes can't get enough of our low fares. Deirdre Clune, yes, there is communications with the UK government. I'm sorry to report that they haven't a bull's notion what they're doing. They generally seem to think there's going to be a red, white and blue Brexit, but when you ask them how the hell you're going to get there, they haven't a clue. And as I said, one of their ministers suggests that the way of replacing open skies between the UK and Europe is an open skies agreement with Pakistan. There will be a lot of Pakistanis who'd like to travel to the UK. I'm not quite sure all those Brits who like to holiday in Spain, Portugal and Greece fancy Karachi for their summer holidays. Mr. Baye, if there is no deal, there will be no deal. There will be no flights. There is not a mechanism. The problem is there is not a legal mechanism on which the airlines can operate in a hard Brexit, no deal outcome. So there's no prospect of having some kind of higher prices at airports or airlines for flights to the UK. There would simply be no flights. Either there is open skies or there's a bilateral, and if there isn't one or the other, there will be no flights for a period of weeks and months. Labour standards remain, I'm pleased to say, very high in Ryanair, high pay, great rosters. We have about 5,000 pilots and cabin crew on a waiting list who want to join us, many of them whom are presently striking within Lufthansa, Alitalia and BA, where there are admittedly low standards of labour among the legacy carriers. And the last question, ownership post-Brexit is a real issue for the Italian lady. Not much for Ryanair. About 20% of our shareholders currently are UK. We are engaged in a continuing share buyback. In actual fact, it might help me to accelerate my share buyback if the UK shareholders are forced to sell. Do I hope the UK will keep Open Skies access? I absolutely do. I hope the UK will reverse the decision on Brexit, and I think when they begin to realise come September, October 2018 that there's no more cheap flights, in fact there's no flights to Spain, Portugal and Italy in summer 19, maybe the average British voter who doesn't really understand passporting of financial services, doesn't understand Euratom, but they do understand that they want to go on cheap holidays to Spain, Portugal, Italy and Greece, will begin to understand that they were misled and sold a pup by the Brexiteers in the referendum last year, and they will change their minds. We should be optimistic. The Brits, I believe, will change their minds because it's going to get very bad for the next 6 or 8 months, I hope.